Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Going into part 2 of today's episode of Roll20 Presents The Burning Wheel. Elf,
All right,
elf,
let me
elf
sling.
forked so hard it killed Blue Jay.
Let me sling
Welcome back, Blue Jay.
some mad shit.
Yeah, let's figure this shit out. So
So I got one fork for
we're
conspicuous,
looking
which
at we're
brings me
looking
to
at
five
a
dice.
we're looking at an ob 3 roll to infuriate Uncle Oswald. You've got you've got your ugly truth dice. You've got a fork from conspicuous because you're making a big deal out of like getting the attention of other people. Do you have anything else that you want to fork into that?
I don't believe I have anything else that would be relevant. If I were singing my taunts, I might be able to fork in sing, but I didn't think about that before I made them, so I think we're good.
Yeah, and if you fail, it lowers you that like you get a lot of like this is not the time like it,
Yeah,
yeah
sure.
he manages to tamp it down and
They blame me for everything anyway, so who
right
cares, right? Like,
yeah
I'm the scapegoat already.
yeah
Might I possibly remind you that one of the racial traits of my uncle is that he's violent.
Oh, I know.
oh I'm
Just in
well
case,
I'm
just
well
in case.
aware.
I'm very, very aware. The king is also violent, like
Yes.
everybody I interact with is violent. I'm sure I've been hit a bunch of times.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
definitely
Boom!
boom. There you
Well,
go.
done.
All right,
Look at all
so
those sixes too. Nice.
yeah, so he does. Uncle Oswald does something to embarrass himself. So I think, as with the violence here, I think the thing is you say this and he knows that you're the king's property, right? You say to him like, look, you're not that important. You dress like a fool, and this monk is, making. So he takes a single step up the dais towards Brother Miro and grabs him. Like he grabs you, Miro, by the scruff of your neck, and like yanks you down off the dais, or tries to, unless you resist. And in doing so, like he's like apologizing. Actually, he doesn't even apologize to the king. He doesn't even think to do that. He just like spits venom at you. He's like, "How dare you!" and like pulls you down away from the king. And yeah, how do you react, Joy, when he does that?
I mean, this is exactly what I want, and like he's going completely nuts, basically. Like, in courtier fashion, this is a really bad move.
Oh, yeah.
Like all the manners are gone, and I'm standing on the dais because I get to do that.
Right, because you're nothing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so when he puts his foot up and like grabs Miro and starts pulling him back, like yelling venom into his ear, my parting shot is basically just like, you have to have permission to do that.
Right. Yeah. And I think that, yeah, Miro, do you do anything? You feel your uncle's hand, cold and clammy, suddenly on the back of your neck, dragging you away from the king. You can hear him like hissing angrily at you, like, he has a cudgel at home that he's going to try and beat you with later. What do you do? Do you do anything, or do you let him like drag you back into the crowd?
I mean, this is important, and the king is an important member of like the divine succession, and it's my place to be at his side.
Sure it is.
So I think as I turn back to Uncle Oswald, there is something about the look in my eyes that compels him to let go of me. I'm going to try and help.
Whoa, just going straight for it, huh? All right. Yeah. So yeah, I was gonna say, like, I could imagine here you, like, because I think the thing, and this is it's not a reputation in the mechanical sense, but I think that Oswald is embarrassed by you, but sees you as a potential step to power. But often in these cases, he makes apologies for you as being like, oh, he's simple. He basically treats you like you have like some mental problem and are prone to fits, and he excuses your like rational behavior. When you're like actually saying and doing things of your own will, he's like, "Oh, forgive me, my lord. He's a simpleton, and he knows not what he says." Right? But yeah, you turn your gaze upon him, and this is a use of faith. This is God's will, right?
Yeah.
So how does that work?
I'm just checking. It's in the codex. It's one of my abilities for the faith in a dead god thing, so I need to
Yeah,
check
I'm just looking
its-
for faith. Let's see. I think it's before art magic. Yeah, religion. Here we go. Hypnotism. The ob is the victim's will. You can channel the siren call of the dead gods through your eyes and speech. Make a faith in dead gods test at an obstacle equal to the victim's will. If successful, he hesitates for 2 actions and will obey one simple direct command from the faithful. This requires a few moments of peace alone with the victim. That last bit, moments of peace, that might be tricky to get.
That's like a definite no, right?
Yeah. Now I think you can command him or something, but yeah, that moments of peace alone with him. It occurs to you that you could help him see the light of God, but yeah, you haven't got the intimacy that you need. You can't brainer him just yet. So what do you do instead?
I think. Oh yeah, nice. I was about to say I'd like to try and persuade him, but I remember I dropped that so I could open sorcery, which is much more interesting.
Sorcery is very persuasive.
Yes. So,
You could try intimidating him. You're opening another skill
yeah.
with that, but
I was thinking I might actually turn to try and intimidate him.
Alternately, you could just pitch a fit, right? Like you could just throw yourself on the steps and start like babbling, and I mean that would draw a lot of attention, but it would change the situation certainly. If you want to be in control, though, yeah, it would be intimidate to try to get him to like back off.
Yeah. So like there's the thought that for a second that were this a different situation where did I have the time, I could convince him. I could appeal to his nature and his piousness to believe that this was for the best, but I don't have that, and this is important. So I turn to him and I do again just give him the glare. And it's I would hope very striking, because a lot of the time I'm unfocused and kind of airy and
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you mumbling and kind of unobtrusive, but then suddenly you have the sort of like death glare.
yeah.
Okay, and so you want to intimidate him, and what do you get? What's your intent here if you intimidate him?
Is that he lets go of me and lets me stay with the king.
Right. Okay. So I think if you succeed, he'll storm out. He'll just be like, "Pah," and like wash his hands of the whole situation and leave. But if you fail, I think he drags you away. I think he doesn't. Yeah. Like you'll have to escalate to physically like squirming away. But if you fail this, he'll just pull you off the dais and drag you away. So do you have intimidate?
I do.
Okay, excellent. All right, so the obstacle is his will, which is 3.
Okay.
We'll do
So
this.
if I want to succeed on this, I'm going to have to fork something in because my skill is only 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think what I do is, as I look at him, I turn and I kind of say, and with great fury in his eyes, the Lord said that he shall not permit those to lay hands on his servants.
Awesome.
So I'd like to fork in, I don't know whether it would be suasion or religious doctrine.
Religious doctrine for sure.
Okay. So I'll grab that. We'll see if I need to spend some Arthur afterwards. I can spend
You can spend the fate after. Yeah.
persona, fate after the fact. Persona I'd have to do.
Persona
now.
you do now, to get that extra die.
Okay, base obstacle you said is 3.
Yeah, he's not super willful. Ooh.
Well, that's a little bit closer to what I was expecting to happen with.
Well,
my
mark
low skill.
that difficult test. So yeah, hissing in your ear. I don't think you. I think you have you like he like jerks you off the step. You stumble slightly, and it kind of like maybe you bite your tongue or it like chokes off the scripture that you begin. And yeah, and he just like snarls at you like yeah, something like, yeah, don't you quote scripture to me? How dare you upstage me in front of the king? And yeah, and he like drags you down off the dais, and like pushes you behind him, and he turns and bows deeply to the king, and he says, "My apologies, my lord." How old are you? How old is Miro?
He's actually 32.
Yeah. Okay, so your uncle, how much older is your uncle than you? Is he like? He's like, I imagine he's like 50.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I imagine there's maybe 20 years in it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So he says he just like he apologizes. He prostrates himself before the king, like, "My apologies, my lord. He knows not what he does. These are the mutterings of a simpleton. I'm sorry. We're all under such stress." And he looks at you like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you later." And unless like Joy, you say anything, the king.
I mean, I'm not gonna make a roll. But basically it's just like, oh, how he ignores the rules and then begs your forgiveness. Look, he's lower to the ground than I've ever been. Look at this.
Right. You're technically above him because he's like kneeling on the floor at the bottom of the steps. You're like looking down at his back.
I like mime reaching out to like pet his head. Basically.
All right. So yeah, and I think that's it for Oswald and like Miro. He kind of like the king addresses the next courtier in line. Someone kind of like nudges their way up and is obsequious to the king in turn. Agatha, what are you doing while all this is going on?
So Lady Elisandra is walking down a hallway,
That's right.
and then I'm just like in front of her, like get tripped over by her.
All right. So Elisandra, you're not alone. Reza would not have that. So yeah. So I think that you, Agatha, you interrupt a conversation between Reza and Elisand, where Reza is speaking in this kind of overbearing tone about we must and we should, and he's telling Elisandra what must be done. And then you step out into the hall, and I think he starts and like puts a hand to his dirk, and then realizes that it's just the blind hag, and like takes his hand away.
And I think that the whole time he's been talking.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think the whole time he's been talking at me, I've been doing that thing where I'm like beatific face, just like striding down the hallway with him like halfway behind me, like the whole time, going on and on.
This is perfect because then, like we literally bump into each other because I come out of a blind corner, if you'll pardon the pun. And I'm just like suddenly in front of you, and you like bowl into me because you're trying to like
get it,
slide down the hallway.
Mm-hmm. And I would, we've met before, right? We've associated with each other.
Like a bunch.
Yeah. So I feel like I would
poison people.
Right. I would like touch your arm and like, cause I'm assuming like blind person stumbles into somebody they might not have been anticipating. Like I'm trying to like be like, oh, like both of us are stabilizing each other for a second. And then I like drop my hand and I'm like, I'm so sorry, Agatha. And I turn and I look at Reza and I like glare at him a little bit, like as though this were his fault.
Sure. And there's some glaring because he's glaring at Agatha, and I think he sneers and he says, "Out of the way, witch. We have business to attend to. We have no time for you." And he tries to like push you out of the way. Like, fuck off, old lady. We got shit to do.
Yeah, and so I just like feel hands on me and like hear voices.
Yeah.
And kind of like Agatha like puts a hand back to the wall, this like corner of the wall to like stabilize. And she says, "No, not you, the other one." And I'm like reaching and being like touching Elisand's face, like, "Yes, my lady Elisand, you. That's who I'm here to see."
Yes, and I turn to Reza and I say, "We have time to hear what she needs. Nothing that you have is that we're not in that much of a rush or whatever. Basically, like nothing that you've brought up in the like strolling down the hallway is important enough for me to like ignore somebody, right? Like anybody. Like I'm trying to be that like nice person. Or whatever.
I don't think he sees Agatha as a person.
Yeah, well.
So he sneers at you, and I think he like You can see him tense, like he's thinking about grabbing your wrist and just being like, no, and like being like, fuck this. If you're gonna try to stay here, we have things to do. But you could buy yourself some time if you want. If you want to try to like calm him down, he's a bit flustered and he wants to like get back to the castle and deal with things. Right? He needs to get back to the estate.
And obviously, I see that he's upset. And like not brooking whatever like interruption this is. And I like Agatha's got her like hand near my face or
Yeah,
on my
because I'm
face.
like double checking that it's you that I'm talking to, right?
Right.
It's like his hand reaches out and like touches your face.
And I take your hand and I like hold it in mine and I like grab it a little bit and then drop it and I turn toward Reza and I'm like, I am so sorry. I did not realize. And I look back at you and I say, Agatha, may we speak another time of this? I'm like trying to like not have him get really upset and grab hands mad at me.
Yeah, and Agatha kind of like scoffs and she's like, no, you can walk your dog another time. I have important matters to attend to.
Cool. Okay. Reza's not having that. I think he steps between you and goes to put a hand on your sternum and push you to the floor, like pushes you away basically, because you're trash to him, right? You're nothing.
Can I distract him?
Yeah, so I want to make sure what happens here. So he tries to step between you to exert his like manliness and be like, no, fuck off, and like shove you to the floor, just to get you out of the way. But yeah, if you'd like, you can feel him like tense up and move forward. Who acts and what do you do?
So I have a thing as well.
You say, yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess this is the question, right? Like, who reacts first? Is Alessandra fast enough to be like, okay, Reza, calm down, because you have practice with this. You maybe see it
she's
coming.
probably very practiced at dealing with whiny baby men being I imagine.
Yep.
Because I'm just gonna like threaten the shit out of this dude immediately.
Okay, well we can make that stage too. So
exactly.
Alessandra, you want to try to calm him down?
Yeah, and I feel like the way that I would choose to do this would be in like I don't want to like try and talk him out of it. I feel like I know there's a place like maybe at the small of his back or like just where his neck meets his shoulders where I can like put my hand and immediately distract him. Right.
And this is instinctive.
Yes.
You're pushing his buttons.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. So I think this is soothing platitudes, probably.
Either soothing platitudes or seduction. Like
soothing platitudes fork in seduction.
okay.
Yeah.
If this were blades, I know exactly what the devil's bargain would be, but adding seduction, you're good.
Okay, so that's will. I need to know how to. So I go to.
I gotta
skills.
find an ob for you first. So let me look at soothing platitudes. I feel like it's like all the other social skills where it's his will. He's a
soothing
willful
platitudes
man.
Will, and I think I've got to be 3 in that.
Okay.
Is there a soothing skill that does not require you just spout platitudes? Is there actually like an overarching
Like a calm down skill? No.
Yeah.
You could persuade
Yeah,
someone.
I'd like to take settle down wise.
Yeah, exactly. Chill the fuck out wise. Well, the reason is that persuasion would be convincing someone that they should change the way they're acting, right?
Yeah,
So you could be like, the smartest thing for you to do right now would be not flip out, right?
Or being like, you see that what you're doing is unreasonable, right? Like,
Yeah.
that would
Oh
be
my God.
persuading someone to calm down.
Oh my
Using
God.
the truth to calm them down to be like, you're acting the fool. Shut up.
Ex Waiterman says animal handling.
Honestly,
Awesome.
I'm shocked that Elisandra doesn't have just like man wise or angry man wise
Right.
Yeah.
or like abusive douche nozzle wise. These
Totally.
are all.
I mean, living
excellent
here, I
wises.
kind of need. I have manipulation wise.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay,
Oh,
so
that's a relevant fork then, sir.
so soothing platitudes is the skill for placating angered or irksome fellows with words that say nothing but compliment everything. It's the victim's will. I think his will is 4.
Yeah, I have soothing platitudes. I think manipulation wise would probably go into this.
Mhm.
Seduction, because I'm trying to use like my knowledge of
You're
his
disarming him in a slightly sexy way. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's like, I'll do something nice for you later if you
Uh-huh.
do
Yeah, right. Like let's just go. We can go to somewhere private and talk.
Mhm.
Yeah.
it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so what do I
So sexy platitudes. So you're going to on your character sheet, you will have put in soothing platitudes. Click the little die,
uh-huh.
and then add. We have 2 forks, right? Seduction. So add 2. Put a 2 for modifiers.
Okay.
Base obstacle is 4. If you fail, he just pushes you aside and then shoves Agatha to the floor,
Okay.
or continues with that action. And then
Okay.
Agatha, you can do something about that.
Let's see.
Okay.
Not quite.
Now you got 3 successes. One of them is a 6. If you spend your fate point, you can re-roll that 6, and you might
And
get
try
another.
and get
Yeah,
another success.
that's right.
Sure. Yeah. So I just roll 1d6.
Yeah,
or-
just slash R d6, and you just need a 4, 5, or a 6.
Nope.
Oof. Okay. Now you need to do 2 things: mark a difficult test for soothing platitudes,
Okay.
and mark the fact that you just spent a fate point on soothing platitudes.
How do I?
It has little bubbles next to it.
Oh, just put one. Or...
Yeah.
Put one in the F bubble.
Got it.
And that's how eventually you could get gray shade soothing platitudes. You could become heroically soothing. But no, so you like touch his neck, and you turn on the tone of voice, the like, hey, it'll be okay. And he's just like, he's not having it, right? He's like, this is not the mood he is in, and he just like pushes you aside. Touching his neck angers him instead of calms him, and he goes to shove you to the floor. Agatha, what do you do?
Well, I'm gonna let him shove me, and then I'm gonna curse his ass, basically.
Oh God.
Okay, yeah. So he just like puts his hand on your sternum and shoves you to the floor, and you just like do you like fall hard? Do you
He like
collapse?
falls, and like her familiar has to like spring out of the way as she like tumbles to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I don't make a sound of pain or anything. I just like hit the ground, go still for a moment, and then like as I'm getting up, I just like point directly at him, which I shouldn't be able to do.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm blind, but it's just like I just point to directly where he is, and I just say, "My lady, that right there is definitely the kind of man you want protecting you. Someone who can beat defenseless old blind woman. Yes, very powerful, very intimidating." And basically, I just want to like take this dude down a peg and just be like, "Dude, you're a fucking asshole. Go away." Like.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
Like deflate him because he's like, "Roar, I'm angry," and I'm like, "You're a piece of shit. Go."
are you doing this? I mean, this sounds like a mundane curse. Like you're trying to impress upon Alessandro that he's a buffoon.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
So I
it's
guess
as
who
much-
is this aimed at? Do you care what he thinks or does, or is the intent of this role to get Alessandra's attention, to be like,
I want her to send him away, right? This is the thing. I'm not going to get him to go away. I'm going to get her to do what I want.
okay,
Because
all right,
he'll maybe listen to her. He's definitely not going to listen to me. And I'm going to do this by just needling the shit out of this lame bro.
yeah, okay.
How you do it.
So this sounds kind of like an ugly truth.
Sure.
It sounds like what you're doing here. Okay, Alessandra, does that make sense? Does that make like?
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't necessarily like. What's your relationship with Agatha here? Like right now, who's the bigger priority? Doing what Agatha wants, or placating abusive fuckboy?
For Alessandra, placating abusive.
Okay.
fuckboy
All right.
is
So
definitely my
there
priority.
is definitely a role here. So Agatha, if
Yeah.
you succeed, then Blue Jay, you agree in character. Alessandra will make an attempt to get him to leave, so the two of you can be alone.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So ugly truth against Alessandra. What's your will?
6.
Okay. Ugly truth.
Is that
6.
5? My ugly truth is 5. It's
Mhm.
very strong, but this is some willful lady.
Yes.
Which is good. That's what you want. You want her to be willful. It's
You
just
cannot break the will of Lady Alessandra.
And like, you know what the thing is, like I'm interested in either turn here, so I'm
Yes.
just gonna roll it. I don't think I have any relevant wises. because these are neither paths nor spirits.
Let me check Ugly Truth too, because this might actually be persuasion. Persuasion with Ugly Truth forked in, but you're not really. I mean, yeah, you're being subtle. I could see either one. With Ugly Truth. Here we go. Strip a argument stating the obvious worst outcome. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, so it's got like hard set obs. It's not about like getting someone to do something. It's just making it clear to everyone. Let's call it a linked test. So do Ugly Truth first, and then the results of that will affect a persuasion test. So the Ugly Truth is actually easier. This is not a complex political situation. I'm gonna say ob2. Make an ob2 Ugly Truth test.
Okay, no problem.
And then if you succeed at that, you'll get an extra die for your persuasion test to persuade Alessandra.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. Okay,
There you go. No problem.
Um,
So it's clear to all three of you that yes, he is a buffoon. He knows it. Alessandra, you were reminded of it. And Agatha, you've known it since the beginning.
yeah, since the moment I saw him.
Yeah. Now, with that truth being made clear, you can roll to convince, roll to persuade Alessandra.
Also saw him.
Yeah. Yeah. And for a link test, let me see if you get that extra die or not. I think you maybe needed one more to get the extra one. Let me see. Yeah. So you need one more than the ob to get an extra die. So the Ugly Truth is clear and true, and that stands as a test on its own. But go ahead and make your persuasion test.
I get to learn to persuade.
Yeah. Oh God. So it's ob 12.
Oh, damn.
Basically, you fail.
So let's talk about the failure here. So what happens, Alessandra, if
When I fail.
if
yeah.
Agatha fails this roll, what are you gonna do?
I am going to treat Agatha as Reza has been treating her,
Right.
as though she's like a shade, a shadow, and not a human person, and pretty much just be like, oh, like, I'm so sorry we were interrupted. What was it you were saying? Like, let's put this behind us and just go.
Carry on.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. But remember, the Ugly Truth test was successful. So all three of you have that worm in your brain that like, this is a situation now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just that she prioritizes making this like squeaky wheel quiet again,
Yeah.
right? It's not that she knows that she doesn't feel it's the right thing to do exactly, or like
It's just a thing I need to
morally
do
correct.
right now.
Yeah, it's the politically smart thing to do currently.
Yeah. And so my base obstacle is 6,
Yep.
doubled to 12.
Good job.
I got a lot of successes.
You got a lot of successes. Yep.
So anyways, yeah. And so the persuade end of this is Agatha just saying like, nothing he has to say is going to be of consequence tomorrow. In 5 minutes, he'll forget he ever said it.
And
she's,
like you're
dusting
you're
herself
talking
off.
and dusting and whatever, and I literally interrupt you, and I like turn to him, and I have my back to you, and I say, I am so sorry, Reza. What was it you were saying? Let us go. Let us put this behind us. I'm sorry that you had to deal with this person.
And yeah, there's like the moment when you're like, I'm so sorry, where Agatha's like, yes, you're apologizing to me. And then you see Reza, and I just like scowl. And now I'm gonna curse a fool. I'm gonna curse both of you.
Yeah, so he walks past you and he just mumbles like, out of the way, you old bitch. And he like levels a kick at your familiar. It doesn't connect because obviously your familiar is super quick. But yeah,
Just like skirts around me.
Now you can choose for that persuade test, and I'm gonna slowly wean off saying these things after rolls, but because we're still so early on. After that persuade test, you can choose because it was so the obstacle was so high. You can either mark it as a will test, or as opening persuasion. There's some rules. It's a challenging will test. You get to choose, I believe.
I think I'll actually take the challenging will test in this case.
Yeah.
And so now as they're walking away, I'm gonna use some fucking sorcery because I have just the spell for these assholes.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, good. So the two of them, yeah, he like tries to kick your dog and sneers at you as he walks by, and the two of them continue down the hallway, and then yeah, after them, what are you doing?
So, first of all, there's a hilarious little bit for Agatha where she's trying to translate the insult that he used because this language is not my native language.
Right, yeah.
And it's that he called me a female, like a she-wolf.
Yeah,
Is the
right.
translation I come to, and I'm like, why would he say that way? That's very strange.
Yeah.
Like in the wood witch culture, that's like a
Yeah.
compliment.
Yeah, exactly. Being a she-wolf is like, oh yeah, you're
Yeah,
like
tough
a
lady.
badass.
Of course.
Yeah, and I'm like, yes, I am.
Yes, actually, yes.
Badass, yeah.
And then I'm gonna cast a spell to assign these two people a trait.
Ugh.
Heavy. Okay, and this is art magic that you're using?
This is art magic. Yeah, so let me just figure out what. So the duration, I want to be for the remainder of the session. So
Okay.
it's 2 mob.
And it's two people.
Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna give it to Reza.
Okay.
Because I know that in her heart of hearts, Alessandra already kind of has this trait.
You saw the
Thanks.
realization of the ugly truth.
So that's going to be ob 3 at this point.
What is it? Just a character trait?
Yeah, and it's just a character trait. I'm giving the character trait respectful of women to this guy.
Okay, so it's ob 1. It's a single target. Makes it ob 2 for the rest of the session. Makes it ob 4.
Yeah, because there's like a base 1 plus another 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
What a curse. Oh
and-
boy.
And so we have to name this spell. The spell is in line with my idiom. And this spell is called Mother Wolf's Reminder.
Awesome.
And it's like, this is like some hedge witch stuff. This is like pretty basic.
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of thing that like the woods folk have used for a long time when interacting with the fucking what are
Yeah, it's a common thing when you meet with like an upjumped barbarian and you're like, hey, chill your shit.
Yeah.
So you're weaving this magic. So make sure that you note that you cast it. It's 10 minus your will number of times. And then once you've done that, once you've cast this little curse that many times, then it becomes part of your being. You get a +1 die to use it.
Yeah. So this is the first one.
You named your spell with an appropriate florid name, so you get an extra die.
Yeah. Okay. And my sorcery is 5. I really should have taken like patriarchy wise or something. Excellent, given how things are going.
I'm not sure how forks go with sorcery.
Actually, yeah, because you're not
I
actually.
think it's
allowed
like
to fork.
linked tests. You're not actually allowed to
Yeah.
fork stuff with sorcery. But
Yeah,
it
except
is
astrology, right?
it is open. Except yeah, I think that.
Well, anyways, so I'll roll my 6 dice for this ob 4
Ob
we
4.
decided.
Yep.
And it's open ended. It could work. It could not work.
I hope it works.
Oh, and of course, I'm not in a rush to make this happen. So I just go to my room and take my time. And so I will get an extra die for taking my time.
Yeah, no, you don't need to you don't need to be in proximity to your target for this.
There are no rules for that I can see.
You don't need line of sight. Okay.
I'm not like evoking or whatever. I'm not doing any of like I don't have any of the like aggressive magic.
Yeah.
So I think I can just like curse this fool.
Okay.
And so yeah, if I take my time, I get an extra 2 dice. So I'm gonna go up to 3 mod on this.
Yeah, because normally a spell like this only takes four actions, right? 4 heartbeats. It's just
Yeah,
a
so I
short
can-
sentence.
Twice as long.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think what it actually is like
You don't
as
even
I'm
need to
going-
leave. You just watch them walk down the hall.
Yeah, and like I just start muttering this like thing, and it's in this other language that no one understands. And like I have these like stones that I pull out of a little pouch, and I'm just like working them back and forth in my hand, and kind of like chanting this thing over and over again. And I just like am following like 20 paces behind for a little bit, and then I go off to my chambers. And yeah, maybe this will spice up your love life a little bit now that he's respectful of women.
For a session?
Yeah,
a
for the
whole
rest of the session.
Oh, get wrecked. Me.
So what does that mean? It just doesn't happen?
Oh no, bad things occur. Now
great.
hold on, 2 of those dice are 6s. So
But sorcery's already open.
oh, sorcery's already open. Yeah,
But
so
I
that's
can
it.
spend fate to reroll a traitor, which I will do.
Okay, yeah, you have one. You got a 50-50 chance of this not being.
Yeah, so let's
failure.
roll 1d6. Boom.
There you go.
First successful.
Okay, cursed.
Thank God.
So if you had failed, I could choose tax, hindrance, enmity and infamy, or unintended effect. So, depending on, it says the only limit here is how evil your GM feels in the moment, but you're okay.
So like always
Oh,
really,
God.
really bad.
Yes.
Oh God.
I could have turned it into he takes the trait like murderous towards women or
Oh,
whatever.
no.
Like you goofed. But
Honestly, that sounds great. I would love it for that to happen as well.
No.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she's just like muttering this curse, and then like once it's done, she just kind of like nods to herself, and then like looks down at her pet and like nods.
yeah,
like,
and it just kind of like looks up at you like it knows what you did.
Yeah,
And kind of purrs slightly and like rubs its head on your leg.
and then I like go to I imagine I have chambers here in the castle for when I'm staying around and people have hired me in, and then I also have my little house that I can go to, but I'm just staying at the castle for now.
Okay.
Just like stuff's happening.
Cool. Yeah. So you give him the dead eye and mutter to yourself, and I don't think he even notices. I think something occurs, and we'll see that in another scene.
Yeah.
So so we I think we cut then to let's cut back to Joy. So the courtiers have left. I think we're in a different room now. The king and the queen are sitting. They're sitting by. The king is standing. The queen is probably sitting. They're in a large room that we don't see all of. We can only see the kind of circle of warmth from the hearth. There's
It's like a living room.
yeah, there's a room somewhere in the background, but we don't see it on set. We just see the 2 of them. And there's maybe a table between them, and on it there's the queen's goblet. There's the queen. The queen's lady is next to her, and the two of them were talking, but there's a sort of a quiet moment. And Joy, you're there, and I think that the king, King Tomas, turns to you. And says, he kind of smirks, and he says darkly, well, you must be pleased.
Your Highness, when am I not pleased?
And he scowls, and he says, I have no stomach for riddles today, Joy. And he says, what do they do in Stygia when a god dies?
Well, from what I've heard, I say, having never been to Stygia,
He doesn't. I mean, he probably knows that. You've told him, but he doesn't care. You're gray-skinned. You know everything about Stygia.
well,
Yo,
from
do you
what
just
I've
make
heard,
up stuff about Stygia?
I'm just about to just. some shit.
I love this. You just have this like idea of Stygia that you've fed to the king.
Well, from what I've heard, my people are a many deity culture, and gods die and return and die and return constantly. There's a war between them. There's a great battle in the sky somewhere, and a god is dead and another god rises. These things change as it goes, the high priests say.
And he scowls as if he's tasted something foul, and he says, "You heathens, how can you keep it all straight?"
It is a trial, certainly, and our our current situation here is far simpler.
So you believe it then, what the patriarch says? He's not just some madman?
I think there's a certain irony in it all, a certain humor, whether it's true or not. The fact that the man, the man who is supposed to lead in worship of the God, that you and that we all follow, would declare him dead. It's just a cosmic joke, really.
And he looks at you and he says, "Laugh while you can, fool. It's only going to get worse from here." And he stares. He sort of stares off out a window at the city beyond. Maybe we realize you're sort of like up in a tower somewhere. And his wife, the queen, kind of like glides up behind him to comfort him. Puts her hand on his shoulder.
Something I've always thought, though, Fire, is when surrounded by people at whom everyone is laughing, you don't want to be absorbed into the crowd, lumped in with those being mocked. Best to stand alone and proud. I've always thought, personally.
I think he's kind of like he's elsewhere now. Like you know the king well enough. You've served him for some time. He does this thing where he just stops acknowledging that you exist, and you can keep talking, but he's not really hearing you. And so like him and his wife, they're doing that thing that to anyone else it'd be really rude, right? Where they're like, she's talking and they're very like intimate with each other, even when you're around, because you're like an animal to them. You're like a pet, right? And so they don't even really acknowledge you. So the two of them are talking quietly.
The fact that I'm in this private place with them basically denotes that I'm worth nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like socially.
Yeah.
And I sort of stop talking at that point because I know he's not listening, and they're busy, and it's like when a dog barks and you'd rather prefer silence, so I just find myself a comfortable place and sit basically and wait to be called on at that point. Like, certainly, like, there's a little bit of looking around the room and picking things up and moving things around and just generally being a nuisance, but that's kind of my job. So yeah, I mean, there's not anything I want to say, but if the silence extends for a long period of time, like, and they're sort of the king and the queen are involved with each other and I'm left out, sort of thing. I just add at the end, like, best not to be the butt of the joke.
What's your relationship to their actual dog? Like, how do you get along with his name?
That's a good question.
His name is Agyar. And he was given to the queen as a gift, like when he was a puppy, and he's like a wolfhound.
How long have they had him?
For as long as you've known him. He's
okay. So before me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we get along very well.
Okay. So
I think it's one of those things where it's like even the dogs know I'm a dog, sort of thing.
Right.
They were already here before I was here.
So maybe you try to find somewhere to sit close to the fire, but Agyar has taken up all the space by the fire and like growls at you as you approach.
Now you mangy, like muttering to myself under my breath, like trying to make sure the king doesn't hear. Like, well, shove aside. Come on, there's enough space for both of us. Like, I'm talking to myself as I try and like push this dog. Like,
yeah. So that's the end, the little end of that scene is just you and the dog kind of like fighting over space by the fire. Oh, I love that. That's so good. Okay, cool. So let's do a quick scene. I want to see the fallout of Miro. So I definitely think that Oswald is like his intention is to go back to wherever the two of you stay. Is this like where do you live? You live with your uncle. Do you live in the castle? Are you like guests of the court, or do you have some other place that the like? I wanted to ask you, like, have you paid rent? What is your resource situation for like living space, Miro?
I pay rent,
Right.
so
You pay rent to your uncle, obviously.
I think I pay him to live in a separate manor. Obviously, not as big as and impressive as like the castle or Alessandra's. Sorry, I'm still trying to remember the name. Because I think we're like a little branch family of the royal family. No, wait, we're a branch family of the Corvids.
Yeah, Oswald is of family Corvus, which is technically part of Alessandra's house, but a lesser branch.
Yeah, so we've probably got a smaller place, but I stay with him. Actually, yeah, I mean, it makes sense if I've paid rent that I stay there. Maybe I don't. I was thinking for some reason that I'd probably stay in a church somewhere, but I think, yeah, I'm brother, not father, so sure. Yeah,
So
let's just say I stay with.
do you sleep in like he? I mean, he obviously is a bit tyrannical about this. Like, do you sleep in his attic? Is there like a shed where you sleep? Like, what's your room here?
Covered under the stairs? No, it's probably like a separate outbuilding, which he thinks is kind of like showing me my place, but I actually prefer it for like the peace and the quiet and stuff like that.
Okay, so I think that you're in his. I mean, he probably doesn't even get. You don't even get into like the house proper. We open the scene on him, like he's berating you. Like he's shouting at you and like hitting you with like a book or something. And he's like, "How dare you embarrass me at the court? You know how important the king's will is, especially in this time." And he's just like berating you and like swatting at you with something and shouting, trying to like make you feel bad, basically trying to correct your behavior. What are you doing, Miro, as he does this?
I'm counting the amount of times he hits me. And we end up at like 12, and I actually just like stop when he like is like standing there heaving after he's like hit me a bunch and finished whatever he's shouting, and I say, if you really wanted to make me sorry, then you'd hit me again, for it is only in the 13th circle that. And then he probably just hits me again.
Yeah, totally. As soon as you're like, you're basically you're John Bender to his principal, right? Where you're like, come on, give me some more, I dare you. And yeah, he gives you another swat on the head, yeah, and he shouts something about like is he your mother or your father's brother?
I think he's my mother's brother.
Okay, is your mom alive or dead?
No, both my parents are dead.
Yeah. Okay. So he makes some remark about like, if only I hadn't sworn to your mother to take care of you, and like he scowls and like hits you a 13th time, and he says, "You're an embarrassment."
So I look at him and I say, it was only my intention to let the king know that despite this difficulty, that God has not truly abandoned us. You'll panic yourself. Perhaps we may sit and talk for a while. You might find some passages to assuage your concerns.
So he's turned away from you as you're speaking, and he's rummaging through a wooden cabinet, and you can hear the clinking of glass, and he's taken down a bottle of some kind of liquor and is like pulling the cork from it and sort of shakily pouring himself a drink, and he turns to you. He drinks the first drink, and like some of the liqueur like sort of like seeps down his face. Like he drinks it too quickly to get it all in his mouth, so he gets some in his beard and like wipes it with the back of his hand, sneers at you, and he says, what use have we for a monk like you any longer? Look at you, you're a fool in those robes. God is dead, have you not heard? The patriarch said it himself. And he like pours another drink and spills half of it on the table and over his hand and like drinks it nervously.
Yeah, this kind of annoys Miro. It's not outright like being blasphemous, but it's being disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
So, does it kind of really play into? Yeah, to try and at first persuade him of the error of his ways. I need to help him here. Like, I don't care what happens to me right now.
Mm-hmm.
But this is someone having a crisis of faith here.
Yeah. He's shaken.
Yeah. I do not have persuade.
Okay. I mean, you have the religious equivalent though, right? Like,
I do. I have suasion.
you have suasion, so you want to swayed him. You can't persuade him, but he can be swayed. So, because I think it sounds to me like that's more what you're doing, right? Where you're trying to reorient him in a better direction by calling on his shaken faith. I mean, at this point in the story, I think it's reasonable to assume that most people that are not PCs have some degree of faith. So, what?
Pious.
Yeah. What do you want to convince him to? What do you want to convince him to do?
I want to convince him. I'll make this really difficult. I want to convince him that it's within his best interests to allow me to like share this comfort that I'm giving him with the king as well. Like, if I was helping the king, then things would be better.
Sure. You just want to convince him. It's funny because now you're outside of the tense situation of social stuff. The two of you are alone and he's mad, but you can already feel the drink and the heat of the moment dissuading him from that anger. And this is your opportunity to say, hey, maybe you should back me up on this. Like, I can be of use to the king.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So if you succeed, he won't actively like get in your way. He'll be like, fine, like maybe you can. He'll agree with you that maybe you can offer something to the king.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So he's his will is 3. So.
Yeah. I think like to fork in religious history in that I make reference to times in the past of, like the king needs spiritual guidance and
sure
those that has benefited.
Yeah, that makes sense. So there's an old story of a king who had lost his faith and the loyal priest that drew him back to it.
Yeah, actually, let me check this real quick because Fighting Will is a game, and I want to advance my suasion. I want to see whether I want to roll it of 4 or of 3.
Nice.
So,
That's yes, it is a game.
Test for advancement 4. 5 is. Okay, I'll roll it. Do I still need routine tests? Oh, I still need 4 routine tests. Yeah, let's use this.
Okay.
Modifiers of 1 for forking, no Arthur, and base obstacle of 3.
Ob 3, yeah. Hey, nice work. All right.
Okay.
So he finishes the second drink, pours a third, goes to drink it and then doesn't, right? Like looks at it and sighs and sets it down in the quickly drying puddle on the table and like wipes his hands on a rag. And he looks up at you and gestures and he says, when you start to, you mention the story, he kind of is like nodding and he says, tell me that tale again, from the beginning, the old one. And he kind of like takes a deep breath and sighs, and you can see him like waver a little, like he drank too much too quickly, right? Like, and he just closes his eyes and sets his weary hands on the table and sits there and lets you tell him this story of the old king. And in doing so, yeah, he can hear you. He understands that maybe you do have something to do here, and for now at least he won't directly get in your way. And I think that's the thing we fade out to break on, right? Is Brother Miro. And when you tell these religious stories, is there something like different about your countenance or your voice, or are you still like, do you have a kind of like storytelling voice that you use, or is this just kind of your usual like rambling sort of mumbly way?
No, it's definitely a different voice. There's still a disconnect in Miro between things on behalf of himself and things on behalf of like faith and the church and stuff. So a lot of the like slowness and unsureness in choosing words kind of like drifts away. He's much more comfortable with like scripture and things that he can point to and believe in, rather than when he's making up his own mind.
Yeah, cool. I like it.
He's
So,
a much
yeah,
better storyteller than,
we see this. Yeah,
speaker.
we see this for the first time. This new or new to us anyway. This other version of Brother Miro, and and we fade out on that. So let's take a short break here, and when we get back, I wanna see this new and improved Reza. I want to see what Reza and Alessandro's conversation looks like. It's gonna be very confusing for her, I think. So let's take our break, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes with more Roll20 Presents The Burning Wheel. Stick around.